Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of Printing's Alive with me, your host, Warren Werbitt. And today I've gone a little outside the norm in that I've never spoken with anyone who makes channel lettering or big signage outside of buildings that line up. So today I have Lee Murphy from Access Signs in the Montreal area. How's that?
Perfect.
But you could be a little east, though, I think. So whatever, same thing. Depends where you're standing. But yeah, so tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So I'm the director of business development at Access Signs. Access Signs has been around for 39 or 40 years, something like that now. We specialize in large scale permanent signage. So either indoor or outdoor signage. We do a ton of work throughout Quebec, mostly outside of Quebec, throughout Canada. We do a lot of national chains, Structube, La Via Rose, Bikini Village, Seals, Nike.
All my favorite stores.
Right. So we specialize in a lot of like multi-location types of clients. Most of our clients have been around for like 10, 15 years. And we're one of the few sign companies, certainly in Quebec, that does both like retail and franchise signage and custom one-off types of projects. So we do a lot of like, we did a tour de Canadien. We'll do one Canadian's logo on the top. If your aunt or uncle is opening a cafe, we'll be doing their sign, but we'll also be doing, let's say, Poulet Rouge is opening 60 locations next year. We'll do all of their signage as well. So we do a bit of everything, lit, non-lit. And I've been doing it for 20 years now. I've been with Access for 9, another company for 11 previous.
So, two questions. First question is, when you do the Canadian sign, how much money do you lose? Because I don't think anyone makes money when they do their stuff. Or did you get 50 tickets? You
right.
get season tickets.
Ironically, I'd never been to an NHL game before doing that sign, and I don't really like hockey.
Right.
So it was like a running gag in our shop, like how did we sell the Canadians logo or whatever. We had a great partner, the construction company building that tower that worked very closely with us. So it was actually profitable, not by much, but profitable, only because there was like a good like back and forth of planning on both sides. Something of that size, had we not done it before, would have been a huge loss leader for sure.
Yeah, I also asked that because of the company before you that was doing a lot of signage. Canadians management, what they like to do is not pay for all of their signage on the boards, but barter tickets, right? But then you're not allowed to sell the tickets, so whatever. It's just a little bit of a joke there. How did you get into signage?
Yeah, so ironically, I went to a high school, and when I graduated, there was like an alumni newsletter, and I would almost never read it. And in the back of the newsletter, there was like stuff of interest to people who graduated. So I saw one of the graduates had started a sign company. I found that curious. It was more like lettering and car stickers. And at the time I was just out of high school. So it was the whole Fast and the Furious era of like putting decals on your car. If you didn't have decals, you didn't have a cool car or whatever. I saw a job posting. I said, I'll do anything to work for you, including cleaning your bathrooms. So they hired me. I only found out like years later to just help them move. They were moving from one location to another location. They were going to fire me. And then I worked so hard. They're like, this kid will do anything. So they just decided to keep me. And I went from a regular shop hand who helped clean up, pick stickers, stuff like that, to in charge of their logistics. They would ship signs and prints and whatnot all throughout North America. So I did all logistics. And then I became the operations manager. So I handled all of the shop, all of the production, installation. And then I got to a point where for me, I'm a very shy person. Like I couldn't look at someone in the face before I would look at the ground.
Really? And you're out selling like crazy. How does that work?
11 years later, 16 years in sales now I can look at someone in the face. But I said, listen, I got to make more money. And they said the only way to make more money is to go into sales. And they told me that I'd be miserable at it because I couldn't look at someone in the face. And I took huge offense, but I was like, I guess they're right, because while looking at the ground, you know? And then I started meeting customers. And originally, this was 15, 16 years ago. So I was 25. I would meet people and be like, oh, you're not what I was expecting. I'm like, you were expecting an old guy in a suit to show up. They're like, yeah. I'm like, well, that's not what this is. So let's see how this goes. And every single person I met was like, why is this kid not trying to sell me something? But he can just answer all of my questions because I had worked. I'd done every single
inside guy.
I was the guy who knew all of the stuff, but I wasn't like a pitch guy. So they're like, he just answered my questions. Like I would take all the info and buy it from somebody else, but I feel too bad because this kid's so nice. And I only had success because of having that backstory of working in the shop and knowing what I was talking about, because I had absolutely no confidence talking to somebody. And then 15, 16 years later in sales, now I don't mind being in the rooms that you need to be in, I guess, to get a job like Tour de Canadien. But it's come a long way, and it's been really fulfilling purely based on you meet a lot of wild people in the sign industry. It's people
You meet a lot of wild people in the print industry. Everybody's in a bloody fucking rush.
yeah. So that's the thing with signs, right? So the joke is everyone buys, you start a business and people pick out literally everything for their business up into like the lights and the couch and the paint color and whatnot. And then they're like, oh yeah, I need a sign. And then there's like 2 weeks before, I'm sure it's the same for printing. Like, oh, now I need to do my mural or wallpaper or flyers or whatever. It's like, okay, well, it's not like a day to make a sign. It's a long process, and you have to think about at the beginning. There's permitting, there's fabrication.
Okay, so actually, I'm gonna just stop you because I had here while I could still read my questions. I was gonna, because you're starting. I was gonna say, so when you need a signage, what do people not see or think about, or run me through? I need a sign for my restaurant or my business.
So first, people, they see something online now, like with the internet, people just see stuff they love. They're like, that sign is sick. They think of Las Vegas, neon chaser bulbs, whatever. And then they might be in or screens now. They're very popular. But let's say you're in Laval, you want to open a business. You're like, I want a huge screen for my sign. So you have to now first check what's allowed in your area. So like, just because you like it and it fits on the front of your building doesn't mean you're allowed to have that kind of sign. So we have to double check what's allowed in your area, whether it's lit, non-lit, type of sign, size, how many signs you can have. A lot of people want one in the front, a little one sticking out, the pylon signs and faces or whatever. So it's a whole bunch of like code checking at the onset. Because what happens is a lot of sign companies, like smaller ones, will say, someone will come to them like, I want this sign, I want that sign in neon. They're like, cool, no problem, $6,000. It's going to take 2 months. The person's like, great, love it. And then they go to apply for a permit or don't apply for a permit. Make the sign, stick it up. He says, you're not allowed that, take it down.
Is it the client's responsibility to go to the city to get a permit, or do you guys do that as a service? Or
we offer that as a service. Ultimately, it's always the client's responsibility to know. I always give everyone the information straight up at the beginning, whether they buy their sign or not. I'd rather say like, this is what you're allowed. You're allowed channel letters, 3 meters big and 3 square meters large on the face or to the side or whatever. So that if you choose me or not, or somebody else, at least you know, and you're protected for yourself. Also now, all across like Canada, it doesn't even matter now what the bylaw says. It says like, you're allowed this type of sign at that size. There's a lot of council meetings that can say, I don't like how that sign looks. I don't like that it's green. You have to make it blue.
After you've got the permit, after you've done it?
Well, it's when you apply for the permit. So even if like, let's say I look into the bylaw and it's like 60 pages long and we follow every single rule in the bylaw. It says, okay, the sign is the right size. It's the right type. It's the right luminosity or whatever. They can still say like, I don't like that it's red. Someone might think that it's a street light or something, a stoplight, make it blue. So like, it's a long, frustrating process, almost like 8 out of 10 times. So that alone is a huge amount of time that a lot of people either don't budget into their like time frame.
So I'm just thinking, aside from budget, what about brand and color?
So generally, it's rare that they'll make you change your color. It's only if it's close to an intersection and it's like a stop sign color. So like red, green, or yellow. It's also if some flash, in some places you're allowed a flashing sign, like a chaser bulb. It really comes down to a fight then at that point between the sign company or the person, the customer, and the city, and saying like, no, listen, this is my brand guidelines. I can't deviate from this. What will you accept? Can you just change it a little bit? And there's a lot of back and forth. And it's never like, here's my permit, wait a week and you get a permit. There's always like a lot of back and forth with the city. Or any of this.
That's just because of bureaucracy, and those people have nothing better to do with their time.
And a lot of the times it's not even just the bylaw, it's the person at the desk. So oftentimes,
like I said, they have nothing better to do with their time than to make misery for other people.
Or it's a young person who has no idea, just started. So they just like open the binder and they're just like reading the binder. And then as opposed to if you got a guy or woman who's been there like 20 years, they understand how to interpret it in the little ways around. Where if it's a new person opening a binder, you're pretty much screwed.
So what could a company expect to wait from deciding that they need a sign to the artwork to it being installed on a building?
So
About
for industry standard, let's take the permit out of it. It's the only part that's variable. You could wait a day. You could wait 8 months for a sign permit. It really comes down to how busy a borough is.
right.
Once you get a sign permit, it's generally like 6 to 8 weeks to get any sort of lit sign. And a lot of people are like, okay, well, aren't signs made by like robots or like little Chinese people? Like it's like this, like they think it's crazy. It's like it happens. It's a long process. There's like dozens of people who there's a bunch of people welding your sign, cutting your sign on a CNC, moving the materials, painting it, installing the LEDs, final assembly, crating, shipping, installing, project management. It's a whole bunch of people. So, I mean, at least for me, until someone comes and visits, forget my sign, any sign company, a lot of people are ignorant to like what goes into getting a sign for your business. They think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I don't think it's just the sign industry. I think it's everything. People are just in this I want it now and I want it now and I don't really care.
Yeah.
In print, it was always the same thing. How long could it take to put together 32 pages? Well, you want 5 colors, you want a varnish, you want a lamination. It's got to dry, it's got to be stitched, it's got to be finished. So, do most of your customers come in at least once to see the place or
So my strategy is twofold. If someone's on the fence about buying their sign, I invite them. Everyone's always blown away. It's like Santa's workshop on
yeah.
steroids. You know, like there's like 30, 40 people in the back. There's shit everywhere. We got massive paint shops, guys welding stuff. It's wild to see. Or if it's a customer who has a specific program where we have to respect certain brand guidelines, materials that are being used, certain things have to be galvanized. So they'll come through with different parts of the project just to come through and see like, okay, yeah, that's exactly how I expected. Or, oh no, maybe we should stop and change this a little bit or whatever. So it's twofold. It's either if I want to sell something to somebody or if someone really needs the reassurance that it's on the right track. Now it's easier with, you could go in the back, take a picture, email someone a picture of their sign being made. It brings there's a lot of delays in the sign industry for whatever reason. I'm sure it's in printing that one print press goes down, you're screwed for 100,000, you know.
Well, you're waiting, and I think the biggest delays everywhere are client approvals.
So that's a little less bad in the sign industry because we straight out tell people if you don't approve it by Tuesday, you're not getting your sign for opening date. And
Right.
people get spooked, so they generally go forward with it.
Well, that's funny. Yeah,
Yeah,
because we would wait and wait and wait, and then they would, come back at 5 o'clock and say, "Okay, are we still getting it tomorrow?" No.
I see on LinkedIn you post a lot on AI. So like we have a program that works backwards. So it says if you need your sign by September 13th, it has all the steps. So it says you must approve your drawing by this date.
We had that before AI, a form that we created, and
Yeah.
nobody reads, right?
Well, we just
They,
bullied them into signing it. Yeah.
yeah, no, you have no choice but to do that. Cool. When you get files, I'm just asking if it's like the same with the artwork. Are the files like non-workable a lot of times, or everything? Are you getting publisher files still?
So we get vector art because we use a lot of vector art. So we use 3 different types of programs. What we tell customers at the onset, it used to be, we need your vector file. And someone will send over like a picture they took with their iPhone or something, a piece of paper. And they're like, here's my file. And they save it with like a .pdf at the end to try to like,
Because they made a PDF.
I made a PDF. I took a picture, whatever. So, so they send it to you. And then like, I don't check it. I'm the salesperson. So I send it to the designer. Sorry. The designer's like, someone took a picture with their phone of a paper. Like, I can't use this. So at the onset, we wanted to make sure we made customers happy. We would do all the vectorizing ourselves. It got to a point where that's absolutely ludicrous. The amount of people were just taking it back, didn't know. So we started charging people. We said, either you send us your file or we'll charge you a fee to do it for you. And then 9 times out of 10 people send the file. And if they don't, they're like, I don't have it. I'd rather you just do it anyways because I could have it for myself after. So that's went great. What's happened now is ChatGPT, people will say, hey, I need a sign for my business. And they're like, please see the examples. And I'll get like 7 examples that are clearly ChatGPT. And I'll be like, oh, like that doesn't work like this. They're like, I want exactly like that. I'm like, perfect. What font did they use? They're like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, well, Like,
and you have the rights to the font. And did you pay for the font? And did you?
well, what I found out now is ChatGPT will create its own like name of a font. Because I sent a project recently to our designer. He's like, "That's not a font. You can't find that font." He's been doing it for 20 something years. He sees a font, he could pretty much have an idea of like what type of which one it is or whatever. So I reached out to the customer and I said, "Like, that's not a font." They're like, "Of course it is. It's luxury bold serif." And I'm like, "No, ChatGPT just wrote that as that's not a real font. You can't download that from something." And they're like, "Oh," and it's happening more and more now where people are using those types of programs or Canva to say like, "Here's my art file." And like, you can't make a little Canva thing like 20 feet large on a mural. It doesn't work like that. People
No,
don't understand. It doesn't work like
right.
that.
Or you need 1200 DPI and they're giving you 72 because they copied
Yeah.
it off the website.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, print has the same things, and people just, a little just ignorance because they don't know.
It's
Like
because they use that for
sorry,
the social media and they use that for their own stuff.
right.
You figured it's why couldn't you use that?
Well, it's one thing on a phone, it's another
Exactly.
thing, but the worst part is, for me, was always the ones that would argue with you after, and I would say to them, "Well, I don't tell you how to make soup because you make soup all day. Why do you have to tell me how to do my business?"
Yeah.
And then they just go, "Yeah, okay, sorry." But it's the why we wasting all this time? Because do you ever have enough time to do an order?
Okay. So it's rare. The only time we ever have any sort of chance at knocking it out of the park is if it's a franchise who's already planned out 20 openings next year. They have the list of like, these are the ones I'm opening.
And you
This is
can
when
get
we like to
ahead.
open. And then so we have like ample time in advance to plan everything well. That's very rare. Very.
Because I remember, if someone gave me 2 months to do something, I'd probably be late on that job because you keep putting everything in before it to try to get it done, and then you're like, "Oh, no, I have to deliver that one, and they gave me 2 months." It's like,
Yeah.
don't give me 2 months, give me 10 days and scream
Yeah.
at me,
3
because you
days.
get into in a habit of doing that.
Same deal.
It's crazy. What's the craziest sign project you've worked on?
Good question. So Lucille's Laval was the first one that ever did fake neon outside. They were the first ones in North America.
Fake neon.
Yeah. We call
What
it
is
faux neon. It's like LED flexible strips. You see it on all kinds of signs now.
You could
So
buy them on Amazon.
now you can buy them on Amazon. Yeah. But those aren't
But
made.
but no, but you can't use them for that. I'm just
Yeah, you're not
joking.
supposed to, they can't go outside. They're not rated for blah, 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 whatever. But yeah, you see them on Amazon. So they wanted a neon sign and said, "Listen, no one's ever done this. It lasts way longer. It's super different." The guy said, "By all means, whatever." So we did it. Looked great. So just first, like being a milestone, that to me will always be something super cool that we did. Tour de Canada at the top only because the sign itself was very straightforward, but like installing it was wild.
So I had that. I mean, I once did a banner that was like 30 feet by 70 feet on the side of a building, like a vinyl drop down, and we had to go, and I think it was like about $8,500 for 3 hours or 2 hours to get the crane.
Yep.
But it wasn't a high-rise apartment condo building like that. So what's involved with that?
Yeah. So before you get to what's involved, there's video circulating about kids sitting on the sign. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called urban exploring. So these kids climb on all kinds of shit at the like tops of buildings and whatever and take videos. And there's a video circulating of like teenagers sitting on the sign. So I discourage anyone who sees a nice sign at the top to sit on it because like horrible things can happen. Thank God I built it so that you can, it's safe, but you never know who does
Well,
what.
you got to be an idiot, who
Yeah,
are the parents of these kids?
exactly. So basically what has to go from the second someone says, "I need a sign like that," to the second it's installed, it was like a 14-month process. We have to make sure that there's anchors in the wall. The anchors have to be built into the wall while they're building the wall because it's all glass. So they have to have certain threaded rods coming out in an exact template that we give them. So the construction company builds all the anchors and everything. After that, we have to build an entire structure to secure the sign on the wall.
That's a Canderel project.
Canderel project, yeah, exactly. And Reliance Construction, both great
Right.
companies.
Well, they do a lot of stuff together always.
Exactly. Then we have to build an entire structure. We have to have an engineer stamped, city permitted, and then we coordinated with them for this particular instance. They had a tower crane in the top of the building to lift the sign. The struggle was they could only turn over the sign where the sign went. They weren't doing the facade because how buildings get done is they do it like floor by floor. So they finish floors, and at the end, it's months later. So we had to lift the sign using their tower crane and then put it on the balcony of the penthouse. So whoever lives in the penthouse has a huge balcony. We lifted the sign and put the sign on the balcony because the tower crane was going to leave in like a month. So that sign stood on that balcony for 8 months.
No way. Finished and everything.
Finished and everything. It sat on, it was like three stories under the where it was going. So it sat there, and then we had to build what's called a portable, in French it's un gros portique. It's like a portable crane arm system. Engineers stamped on the roof that would hang over and then take the sign from the balcony and pull it up 3 stories so we could install it onto the wall. So it was the whole process. So the sign itself was a joke. We made it in like a week. But there was 12 to 14 other months of planning. And if at any point any of that went wrong, like the day we were lifting was too windy, you couldn't do it. If there was any sort, we had to block off the street and everything. And at the end, a fun fact is any sign that's up on the top of a building like that, you put double the amount of lights in it so that you never really have to. Yeah, so if it burns out, you can just flip the other ones on and you get double the lifespan. So you don't have to go and service a sign with like a scaffolding, window washer scaffold.
So what is a sign like? I mean, I don't want to know their price exactly, but what is a sign budget to put? First of all, how big is it? It looks big from the ground.
22 by 22.
No kid. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a $200,000 project.
So the sign itself wasn't very costly.
Like 12 grand probably. No.
Right. So you're bang on. And
really? Okay.
Yeah, the installation was the most. So it was like the install was close to $60,000.
That's for life. So it's
that's for life. And it's at the end of the day, when you hear something like that, it seems enormous. But in the grand scheme, I mean, to a regular person, if you say, hey, that's 80 grand, let's say, you're like 80 grand, that's wild. But in the grand scheme of how much, let's say, a building costs to build, it's like 0.05%.
Not even.
It's tiny.
Right.
So like I'm doing the new CN Tower. They're moving downtown from their current building to the new building. That's a similar idea. So again, the sign, it's nominal, but it's all of the equipment and the logistics and the installation that's the costly part.
Wow. That's and then what about like liability? So are you on the hook for the liability? What, because you're installing it, or?
Well, there's a number of things, right? So like if we build and install it, we're liable for the full thing.
For how long? Life?
Probably forever, if I had to guess, in perpetuity.
Wow.
That's why we have an engineer stamp projects like that. So it's rarely required. In that situation, it was required by the customer, and we would have done it regardless, just for everyone's liability. And in that part, it becomes the engineer's he's for all of the attachments and everything to the building. So if one of those failed, that person would be liable for that.
And once the guy's signing off on the building, what's the sign?
I mean, the kid sitting on it. I mean, so like technically, if that sign fell off the wall, and there's a video online of like 12 kids sitting on it, we're not necessarily liable because it's not built to have a load.
12 kids. And what are they doing up there?
At the same time, I mean, it's a great sales pitch for me. Like sit on my.
Yeah, no, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. How important is signage for businesses? Do businesses look at signs and then say, I don't need it? Or you have to convince people that they should get a sign?
I'm biased because I sell signs, but if you don't consider that portion of it, listen, at the end of the day, it's like anything. People judge you on the clothes you wear, the watch you wear, how you speak, your haircut, like if you stink. It's all the same thing when it comes to a sign. Like if you have a shitty quality sign in front of your business, they're going to assume you're probably chinsing out a little bit on the quality of your product or service in the building. And I know many successful people who bought poor quality signs.
What? No, sorry. Okay, so I was going to just say, what makes a poor quality sign? Like how does somebody make a mistake? So let me rephrase all that.
Yeah.
I need a sign. I know nothing about signs. I go into what used to be the yellow pages, but I go online now. What am I doing? What mistakes am I already making? Like when you talk to people.
So generally we'll go off a person who's never bought a sign before. because people who have a director of procurement or whatever, they have an idea of what to look for. But let's just say I'm opening an ice cream shop and I need a sign for my business. What I should be looking for is a few things. One is a company who's certified with the proper insurance. So if they're licensed and bonded, if their vehicle has a logo on the side, if a vehicle like an install truck or a pickup truck that shows up does not have a logo on the side, it means that they're not confident in their work. Because often what happens is if they're installing a sign and someone comes by like an inspector, they can put all their stuff away and drive away and no one saw like who did it.
Right. Okay. But just on a side note, there's a few companies that just do installation and they don't have a sign because they don't want the
Agreed.
contractor.
Point. Fair point. They should be members of the Quebec Sign Association.
Right. Okay.
Only because it's the only association in Canada that requires its members to have certain things. So like a sign company must have a RBQ license. It must be UL or CSA certified in terms of their lighting and electricity. Because at the end of the day, unless you open a sign and know what you're looking for, you have no idea what the quality of the plexiglass, the LEDs, the vinyl, you have no idea. So anything that goes into a sign, you should be like, okay, so what kind of LEDs are they? Is it like an American brand? Is it a well-known Chinese brand? What kind of vinyl are you using? Is it 3M, Avery, Arlon, or is it some sort of like Lee Murphy stick tack? Like you should generally look into things that are brand standards when it comes to your sign. You should always ask, are they willing to send you photos of it being built? Are they giving you an official estimate and not just tell you a price in email like that's $11,000, but it's not broken down? How much is a sign? How much is install? What kind of warranty you're getting? What's included in your warranty? Some people might say nothing. Some people might say all kinds of stuff, but if it's not written down on some sort of estimate or contract,
It's not worth any.
no warranty, And at the end of the day, signs are expensive, but you should only need to buy them once. And if you're going to have your business open 5-10 years, you're only amortizing that cost over the length of your business. And I know for me, I generally, whenever I'm visiting somewhere, I go into places all the time because they have a cool sign. It catches my eye. Like, what's going on over there? That sign's wild. Like, I don't even know what they're selling. And I just want to go. Maybe it's because I'm in signs, but I know that for a lot of people, it's like a landmark,
Right. Oh, no, for sure. And I'm laughing because I'm thinking back to like one of my best customers ever in print had no sign on the door because he didn't want to be seen.
Right.
So for me, knocking on his door was a godsend because others were walking by. But that's a needle in the haystack.
Well, the
right?
crazy part is you don't know what it costs you to be missing those customers.
Right.
Because you never truly have a market share on what that was. I know for people, restaurants, retail environments, like if you don't have a sign, you're messing up. Like your neighbor has one, they're going in there. They might walk in because something looks cool, but it's money wasted.
Yeah, no, I'm all for signage anyways. Printed or channel letters or lit up or anything or just glow in the dark.
People keep sending, or they post a lot on Facebook of like the good old days of Montreal. And it was like the Wild West of signs where they're like, remember these days? And there was fucking neon signs everywhere. And people say,
you're thinking of the massage parlors, but anyways.
Right? How can you do that again? It's like, I love the whole like nostalgia. At the same time, like people didn't give a fuck if like your sign was in front of your window, like that Seinfeld episode with the chicken restaurant and Kramer not being able to sleep.
Right.
Like there's a lot of that shit. At a point, it's good that we've regulated it a bit. Now I think it's crazy, but we've come a long way as a city.
So the next question was, how has the signage changed over the years? Like I know how print has changed. How has it changed over the years from say when you started and how long it took to do certain things to how has the technology advanced it now?
Programs have gotten better. Machinery has gotten better. Machinery has gotten larger. So like CNC tables that used to be tiny are huge now. We have laser cutters where just because you can't cut something on a CNC, like a drill bit for a letter, you can cut something like that big. Before you were restricted in the type of sign you could do based on like what the logo looked like, etc. Now, I mean, it's like carte blanche almost. If you want the smallest lit up acrylic letter like that and you want it to be that deep because you saw that somewhere, like almost anything is doable now. A lot of people are more open to different types of materials. It used to be like, it has to be just every channel letter has to be channel letters, has to be built the same way. Now people are really open to trying to do something different. I think a lot of people want something that stands out from their neighbor. I think that has come with a double-edged sword where a lot of people are buying some signs in China because the shit they do in China is wild. And a lot of that isn't made for like Canadian winters necessarily. So people, but you don't consider that when you're buying a sign. You
Oh,
just
and then they find out the hard way, right?
6 months
Listen, I
later,
mean,
it doesn't work and you don't buy another one yet.
5 months out of the year here, because it's and other places where it's cold, you can't put store windows or outside facing
Exactly.
adhesive because the window's too cold. So
Too
you have to
cold.
always think ahead.
Yeah.
Is China a problem?
It's not when you have strategic partners. So China has been a great resource for the sign industry because a lot of the material we use does come, or most of it does come from China. But when you find the right resource and the right partner there, when it comes to finding the best quality material, the best quality LEDs, vinyl, etc., it is a bonus. It's not when you like see on Etsy, like buy this sign on our Amazon for $20 because they're making 3,000 of them. It's not that they don't care about the quality of that sign. They care about the volume that they're selling. The biggest change in the sign industry, it's not even the material or the equipment. It's been how we've treated like the newest product. So back in the day, you absolutely had to go to a trade show to find the newest and greatest thing in the sign business. I think it was even like that maybe in the print industry, where if they came out with a new vinyl, like, oh, now we have perforated vinyl you can install from the inside. You had to go to a trade show to see that. So there was a lot of excitement in the industry at certain points of time, where now manufacturers, distributors, they just like on a Tuesday on their website be like, look at our new perforated vinyl that gets installed on the inside and watch our webinar for 10 minutes. And like, it's a lot of the excitement of new products is just vanished. So even going to a trade show now, it's like you're just seeing in person all the stuff you've already seen. So the excitement of innovation in our industry has completely vanished to the point where people expect innovation without any like, wow, that's crazy. It's just like, okay, that's new. Like they have digital screens, so message centers, now they're like see-through.
Right.
You shouldn't be able to see through a screen 20 feet by 20 feet. That's nuts up. And now we just act like it's normal and it just happened overnight, but that got developed over, 10 years. And
But also with that comes a cost. Technology is not cheap.
well, the sad part in the sign industry, certainly in Quebec, is that cost doesn't have much value to people.
So
So
we're not gonna talk about Quebec, but
okay,
just the way business is done in Quebec, there's not a lot of value
no,
for
the value there,
what you have.
it's a lot less. Like people appreciate it a lot less in general because things have become in every industry so accessible.
No, here they appreciate it a lot less in general, period.
Yes.
Right. Anyway, again, I want to talk about here and get into that whole rabbit hole thing. But the customers in general, are they more appreciative today of what's available? Do they care what's available?
So in the sign industry before, not a lot of people even knew what was available because no one posted anything online. People, even to this day, people like you, Warren, or myself, it's rare. So you'll have companies doing 20, $30 million of different types of signs a year and not post any sort of completion photos or anything online out of fear of someone seeing their customer. And that's like a disservice because people,
But that's so on that note, that's ridiculous
yeah,
because if you're good, the only way someone's stealing your client is if you're not good, if you fuck up, if you screw up,
exactly.
if you're unreliable. Otherwise,
That's a new mindset though. Like in our industry, it's the complete opposite mindset across Canada. So like now people are slowly starting because there's younger people getting involved in businesses and younger people, they don't want to bend channel leaders. They want to be in charge of the department of marketing and post TikToks and stuff and signs because it's a rock and roll industry. If you take away the boring part of like monotonous of building something, it's cool. Like you're literally building something different every day, multiple times a day with many different steps. It's really interesting.
it's the same in print. You go out and you do a banner for a movie theater and you see them everywhere, or you go to the supermarket and you're doing packaging and you have a whole shelf because your customer is whoever spaghetti company and has
Exactly.
the whole shelf. And it's like, oh my God. I mean, I used to always try to get people to come in to
Yeah.
the business for twofold. Number one, always wherever I go, even today, I always ask people if I could see how they make that. And on my TV, it's generally on YouTube. And how'd you make that? Because it's just too cool how everything is done. And in bringing everybody in, the best part about it was actually a couple parts. Number one, it's really nice for your people inside to meet their customers,
For sure.
to know to know what they're getting beaten up for, to work harder to get it out. Right. And then the customer needs to meet the person who stayed all night and weekend and bitched about them to get the sign out so that they can have a laugh together.
100%.
But most importantly, when the customers come in and then they would see the process, if you walk them from where the estimate starts with their fake artwork to the person who every time you open up a file, you need an hour, right? Like
No one
it's
knows
not
that. Yeah.
right. So you have them sit through that process, and then from there to there to there, and then by the time you've walked them around in about an hour and a half, and they're going, you almost need to do that so that they go, oh, so that you get the point across at some point on how long it's going to take when they think it's 3 days
15 minutes. Yeah. They think
or
everything takes
15
15 minutes.
minutes, right?
Exactly.
The harder it is, the faster that they want it.
But
You know?
like the amount of business I've gotten from people who called me and said, "Hey, Lee, that sign that I saw that you did for X person, how did you do that? I want that." Like I've gotten many, many contracts purely because I make sure people understand what I do and that I love it. And then at the end of the day, Tour de Canadien, that person wrote me on Instagram and said, "Hey, I've been following for 2 years. We have mutual friends in common. This other person never got back to me. Would you like a chance to present a proposal?" And that project was 6 figures at the end of the day, you know?
It's amazing in sales how many people don't follow up with a quote or don't get back on something. And all people want is to know that they could communicate and trust someone who's going to be there.
There's not one person that I've ever met for a sign, especially because it's a costly investment, that someone says yes right away. I've had conversations with people that have taken 6, 7 months in order for them to commit to something. And that's not uncommon, you know?
No, and they also have a lot on their plate where the sign is the last thing to do and it'll go on the building or the door or something, even though it could be the most important thing.
For sure.
But when you're building your building, you need the building up before you can put the sign up.
Exactly.
So it's kind of, craziest. What's the craziest, sickest story, rushing, doing, falling off a building, something
I've,
that
ne- you know what? I've never had a sign fall, but
okay.
one experience that I've only experienced once, thank God, that I love telling people is I was tasked with restoring and installing a number of historic signs in a museum downtown. It's called the Museum of Memories on Saint Laurent Boulevard. And Matt Soar from the Concordia University donated a number of his signs because he has a collection. He has a Montreal Signs Project there to the museum. And they're old vintage signs. And one of the signs that was going to be installed was the 281, which for everyone who doesn't know was the #1 male strip club for many years in downtown Montreal. There's like lines of women around the block for like almost every evening. And the woman,
it was a good place to go to pick up women if I was older.
just standing outside the cold waiting to see guys. So the person who owned it died and left it to his daughter or something like that. And then the daughter sold the building to some condo developer. So she was donating the signs to the museum. So I had to go and meet her one day to discuss the signs. And she's like, "Oh, one of the signs is downstairs in the basement." So I go into the basement of this male strip club and it was all dirt. And the only thing in the basement was one of the signs, a casket, like a full on casket, and a blow up like a unicorn that you put in a pool. And it was the only thing in this basement. And I looked at her like, "Is this for like, am I going to die?" And she was like, "Oh, I never come down here." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And we both just had a laugh. Like who sees a blow up unicorn, a casket in a dirt basement when he goes for a sign meeting? But I'll never forget that.
It's funny. What's the biggest mistake you've seen done costly wise?
So there's always measuring something wrong when you do a site survey. So let's say you measure the walls 200 inches and then you build the sign 200 inches and the wall is actually 198 inches and you have to throw out the sign and build a new sign. That happens now and then, more often than you know across.
No, I believe it. It's those small little things that make you go, fuck.
And something that it has nothing to do with building the sign. I remember years ago when I first started in sales, I had to go and take photos and measurements in a mall. The store was being replaced by another store. So I went and took photos and measurements, and one of the employees came out and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just taking photos and measurements for the new sign." And she looked at me like, "What new sign?" I'm like, "Oh, it's so and so." And that's how that employee found out they were getting fired, and they're closing the store, and they didn't tell anybody.
That's not your doing that.
It's
That's
not.
crazy though.
It's one of those lessons where you make the mistake, you never make that mistake twice, you know?
So I think of a mistake I made. First of all, so just before my mistake,
Yeah.
what's the biggest cost mistake? Like I've done we've had like $60,000 mistake once in print.
Yeah.
Or I kill myself.
Signs have fallen off the truck when they've been taking off. The crane, like boom, the arm broke once, and a pylon, when it was being installed, came smashing down. We had to redo the entire pylon because it was damaged. That was $30,000-$40,000. Generally, the mistakes are in the $2,000 to $3,000 range. It's a part of a sign or an entire sign. It's never been massive, only because we generally we have a lot of steps to go through, but it's also not like it's a significant amount of money at the end of the day. You do that enough time throughout the year and you just eat away all your profit, you know?
It's manufacturing, right? It's like, that's why people don't understand all the necessary steps for approvals or checks and balances or nobody in manufacturing makes enough money to cover mistakes.
Well, the margin's very small. So you have to be diligent.
Like what, like 70, 80%?
That's the print industry.
No, print industry is like, yeah, no. Actually, the average print company probably nets like 2%. The ones that are average and not that smart, and the smart ones probably do in the 8 to 10% net at the end of the year if they're good. But all manufacturing, you have to watch, right? It's how has automation helped your industry, or has it?
A lot of it for us has been like software, not so much automation, because there's not a lot of repetitive tasks one after the other. But a lot of it has to do with software. So like you just said, like margin. Most sign companies have no idea how much money they make until the end of the year, if that. Like there's no tracking of did this one project make X, like how much did this project make? Did it lose or whatever? So we have a system that calculates every single thing that goes into the sign, including hours.
Everybody's putting in their time, every material they use.
So we estimate. So we estimate the project at the beginning. We'll say like it takes 20 hours to weld or whatever. And then that person who welds it will put in his time. And then at every month they see like, okay, we're estimating properly or estimating a little low or a little high or whatever. So we know exactly where we are in terms of like loss and profit for the most part. Most sign companies have no idea. They're just regular guys who started a sign company. And at the end of the year, if the money in their pocket, they were profitable. If they didn't, they lost, you know?
It's like the printing industry, right? I mean, we used to have this software for our estimating and all of our shop production. And for most of the jobs, everybody would be required to put in, while they're doing it, the time and everything, so that you have something to base it on at the end. For us, it was who wants to keep doing repeat work if you're not making money the first time.
Right. I remember the previous sign company, we did a lot of large format printing, and there was a lot of that reporting. Like we said, we're going to use 200 or 2,000 square feet of certain vinyl. And then the person never put in how much vinyl got scrapped.
The waste factor.
Because of the head strike or because of laminating it crinkled or whatever. And so there's a lot of like inaccuracies, even though we thought it was going the right way. So it's difficult to track, really.
No, for sure. So because I'm bouncing all over in my head for a change, but when you're making those channel letters, how are you bending the metal? Is it a bar? Is it a heat machine?
So it's called channel loom. So it's a thin aluminum that comes pre-painted different colors, or we can then paint it afterwards. Back in the day, what happened was you had a huge table made out of wood, and then you would put a template on that table, and then you would take the thin piece of metal and you would start, and then you put a nail and you hammer the nail, and then you bend a little bit, put a nail and hammer a nail. So you all be little nails all around the letter, and that's what would form the can, we call it, of a channel letter. So that's super inefficient, but that's how it used to be done. Then someone got the smart idea of making the table metal and using magnets. So then you would cut little notches, and then you would put magnets all around and then glue it to the back. Now there's machines, they're called AccuBend or SDS, where you basically just put in the file and you stick the roll in and it cuts and bends the entire thing itself.
Like it's automatic. It just
Automatic. And that can pump out like 100 letters an hour.
an hour. Wow.
Yeah.
I guess size and
So the sides of a
you
general.
should add that in, because if people are listening and you could do 100 letters an hour,
So
all size.
It bends and cuts the side, so like the can. Then someone still has to cut the back, so like the actual letter and the face, and then assemble them all. So a huge part of the industry is automated. So there is machinery that has made the job way faster and way easier, but it's never 100% done by a machine. There's always an artisan, like a fabricator, who has to take one piece, stick it to the other piece, take that piece, stick it to that piece, put the LEDs in, weld it in, glue it in, all that stuff. So it is still very labor intensive, but the parts that are difficult or kind of miserable, that part has gotten automated. So it makes the job a lot more enjoyable.
When you say labor, people, how is it finding people to work within?
Since COVID, next to impossible. So
Really?
yeah. So before COVID, the sign industry was very well known for paying well above other industries. So like if you wanted to be a painter, like in a car body shop, you would get paid more to be a painter doing the same thing in the sign industry than going into like the automotive industry. So the pay scale was always great. It's just people would come into the sign industry. You almost fall into it. I think it's a little bit the same as printing. You fall into it. Your grandfather owned a sign company. Now you want to work there in the summer. So now you work there forever or whatever. They worked there 10, 15, 20 years. When COVID hit, a lot of people left the industry. They retired or just decided, I don't want to do this anymore. It is almost next to impossible to find someone to come in who will want to do a repetitive task. Like the days of like electricians and plumbers, even though we need them more than ever, no one wants to do it anymore. So no one wants to come and just bend channel letters all day, even if it pays great and the hours are good and the benefits are good. It's just people are looking for a different type of job. I think it's a challenge or an excitement. And like, I feel very young, even though I'm 41. Like I remember.
No, I'm not going to go through that with you. 41. You're like a young chicken to me. So,
but now people in my demographic, like I've been in the sign industry for 20 years. I did 11 years at one firm and now 9 years at another. That doesn't happen anymore. People work somewhere for 2 years and they say, I'm going to quit and go there because they give me $2 more an hour, and then work there in a year, quit and go there. Like it's all over the place. So finding someone who's really willing to build a career at one location or it's hard now in general.
Everybody thinks it's greener on the other side, and it's not. Right? And then the ones that keep bouncing around, they're bouncing for a reason.
Well, I've worked 20 years in this industry. I'm very comfortable. I do well for myself. And when I tell people my income, they're like, that's crazy. I'm like, I've worked for 20 years at the same thing. It's not crazy if you just work 20 years at one thing. It is if you're marketing and now you're in sales and now you want to do car wash or something. Like it's people, they're short. It's like ADD now all the time.
Yeah, no, I think it's everywhere. I think people's expectations of what they want are not in tune with, of what reality is. Listen, everybody, if you go to the store and buy something, right? And then if you go somewhere to work, everything costs.
Listen, it's difficult to see strawberries costing $9, or hot dogs being $9 for 12 hot dogs or something. It doesn't make any sense now. And at some point, it's discouraging to want to just like back in the day, like our parents were just stuck at something forever and they were able to build a good life,
Yeah, no, now listen, I think everybody's scared.
Yeah.
Gas now here, like it's a $2 a liter for regular. I think and I got to put super in the boat. I'm not looking forward to the summer.
Exactly.
I think I'm seeing on Facebook Marketplace more fishing stuff popping up because people are not going to be able to get out the way they used to.
Why? Look, I'm on the road every day for sales, seeing customers. And I remember when I put gas in and I deducted on taxes, but like it was $2 a liter. I was shocked. I'm like, how does anyone afford this? And then I thought, I'm like, we have install trucks, we have cranes, right? I mean, more than one, we have several. And like, someone has to pay for that.
Everybody.
Everybody. And it gets if it doesn't get passed on, we pay for it. If we pass it on, you pay for it. Like it's just
You have to pass it on. But anyways, yeah, no, but everything is outrageous today. It's
exactly.
kind of crazy. But so where do you see signage going? Is it growing? Is it shrinking?
Yeah. So the sign industry as a whole will never go away as long as there's physical spaces that people want to come and meet, whether it's hospitals, schools, billboards on the sides of highways, retail, restaurant, whatever. How is that going to change? I think that the types of signs are going to become more refined. So like already now, when you think of a channel letter, it's like a big can with like a little face that goes on with a return. Now you have ones with no return. You have ones where they're a lot less deep, where the thinner it is, the more like hotspots you get on LED. So there's becoming signage as a whole is becoming sleeker. The options are infinite now. So it really comes down to how creative you are, how creative a customer is, and what their budget is. And the sign industry as a whole will never outgrow the amount of physical spaces. So I can speak for, in general, the signage type of person is looking to collaborate with a lot of large format printing companies because it's the same industry, but not. So
Right.
like
Yeah,
large
no, for
format
sure.
printers don't really talk to sign guys. Sign guys are like they're doing their own thing. It's not even like we don't anything to do with roll to roll or like offsets. We don't understand any of that. But we're serving the same customer. It's whoever's buying the menus is buying a sign for their restaurant. So at a point we have to either come together, collaborate, sign companies buy large format types of printing companies, or vice versa,
Right.
or find some way for that to kind of meld into one thing.
Well, it's another service to be offered in the same, in the same family of signage.
Especially if it's the same customer. So like at the end of the day, if you're going to grow as an industry, it's either you acquire more types of companies or you look outside your industry and see what's collaborative. The same thing could be with design firms. Design companies could be all of a sudden collaborating with design firms, and you have a design firm in a company who does all of a branding for a company. So now it's like you want to start a restaurant, you don't have a name or whatever, come to this one company. It'll give you the entire brand package, and then we can make your sign, and we can wrap your cars, and we can print your. Comes down to like a full service, one stop
A
shop.
one-stop shop. One-stop shop. I remember when we did our sign, it was I think it was like a 12-foot channel box with just printed vinyl on the outside and big fluorescent lights on the inside, and even that was about like $6,800 or $7,500 installed.
But then think of when you're starting, like maybe not in your case because you're in printing, but let's say you wanted to wrap your trucks and you also wanted to print flyers for promotion or whatever. You had to call 3 guys, and
Well,
then
so yeah, so actually I started where we are here, the one-stop thing, because I had all the different printing, I had the labeling, we had the mailing, we put in the large format, then we were wrapping cars for different franchises. And the idea was just that we had all of our color down, we had all of the branding down for the company. And the real benefit, and maybe a lot of the young people don't see it today, is the time they save by leaving it all in one place
yes,
and everything relatively matching.
I remember at my previous sign company, they bought a piece of machinery specifically for one customer because they were doing promotional posters, large styrene posters in all of their retail stores twice a month. So the amount of volume that it was printing, and the customer would come on site and make sure every single one was the right shade, like skin tone, the right like olive green, because it went with their color scheme in their line that month or whatever, to the point where that retail customer opened their own sign company in the basement of their head office specifically to make sure that they could just print exactly what they needed. So they understood.
Is that Reitman's?
That's right, means yeah. So
Yeah,
they opened their own sign company
they all thought that, and then they all went away from that,
because
right?
it's a lot of maintenance and you have to know what you're doing, not just
Right, it's not just the body, you have to
the
pay
thing.
for the equipment, you have the maintenance, the update, the technology, the change the machine every 3 year, like, it's like everything else, right? People think it's just easy, it's cheap, and you could do it better, but
Yeah,
you can't really do it better than the people who do that.
only do that exactly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Wow, 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 time flies, but that was cool, cool, so interesting, and I don't know how not everybody has a sign anyways out there.
You gotta,
Right?
you gotta.
Absolutely. So, before we move on and out, anything you want to add, anything you want people to know about the sign industry, about needing a sign,
All
not
I
what
can
it's like
say
to live
is
without one? Say whatever you want.
make sure whatever, if you're proud of your brand or your product or service, there's no reason you shouldn't have a sign outside of your business. At the end of the day, you're going to attract a ton of people who've never heard of you. And at the end of the day, it's not just about repeat customers. A large part of business is attracting new people to your brand or business. A sign is an easy one-time thing to do that. A sign is a silent salesperson, sits out there 24 hours a day, 365. Like you're not paying them sick days, unemployment. You don't got to find somebody else, hire, fire, all that stuff. But if you are thinking of buying a sign for your business, just make sure you do your due diligence. There is a large scale of type of sign company, from a guy in a garage to a company that has all of the necessary things to make sure that you're protected and your business comes out looking properly. Lastly, don't be scared to promote yourself unrelated to the sign industry. I know that Warren, something I see all the time, I see his people wearing shirts about printing. He promotes other people in the print industry. Share your pride for your industry loudly. Because whether you buy a sign or not from me, I know no matter what, you're going to think about signs. Just because of hearing something like this, it'll give you new appreciation. The same thing for the print industry. Both industries seem boring on the onset, and you have absolutely no idea the capabilities and the possibilities that are available to you for your business. So I want to thank Warren for having me on. I want to thank you for the love you always show me in social media, and keep it up.
Cool. And the other thing is, when you do a sign and then someone comes in or sees you and says, I love your sign, how good are you going to feel? Right?
I have an 8-year-old, and it's in this industry, we're all notorious for doing the same thing. There's not a day I don't drive around and be like, hey, dad did that, or I did that. And she's 8, and she even talks about signs. And every time she sees a sign, she goes, oh, look at that one. That one's nice. Did you do that one? Like, there's a certain pride in that,
For sure. Okay. So we're going to end this with if you love what you do, you're going to do it better.
Yeah.
And if you don't love what you're going to do, if you don't love what you're doing, then just get out of it and be happy. Look how happy Lee is here when he even to show his kids every day. So, Lee, first of all, thank you for taking the time to come on.
My pleasure.
Always interesting and good to learn more about the sign industry and just not sticking, vinyls up on walls. Everybody else, appreciate you listening. If you'd like to hear anything that I haven't spoken about, please reach out. If you want to be on, reach out. If anything, just reach out. And I would encourage you to go to the printwhisper.shop and look up some of the hoodies, sweatshirts. I'm sure you could find some conversation starter that'll help you in your daily life. Other than that, always appreciate you all. Thank you. Thanks, Lee.